Today, we're going to be checking out my new Harley Benton multi-scale Fanfret 8-string guitar, and we're going to see if it's any good and how we could possibly make it better. So I've been interested in getting an 8-string for a while as kind of just like, I want to try it out, have it for some things here and there, especially for, doing drive and boost videos, because some boosts work better for certain tunings or types of guitars, and it would be good to have an 8-string for boost videos in the future to show if it can do the gent thing or if it's more for, the higher stringed instruments or maybe 7-string, stuff like that. But I was always apprehensive about dropping the money on something that I might not gel with, which is why I was stoked to see that Harley Benton had an 8-string, and not just an 8-string, but a multi-scale 8-string for under $200 US. The multi-scale is particularly interesting because when you have something, this extended range, this low tuned, it comes in F sharp. The problem is you either need it to be a super long scale length for the low strings because it needs more room to vibrate so that it intonates correctly, or you need to have it shorter so that the higher strings intonate properly or aren't super tense, but then you have a problem of getting the low end to intonate properly. Well, this, you don't have to compromise. So you have the 25.5 inch on the high E all the way up to 27 inches on the low F sharp. And what's great about that too is not only does it intonate correctly, all the strings are tensioned properly, so it feels very intuitive to play. And honestly, I haven't really noticed any difficulty getting used to this over a standard normal guitar, quote unquote. It's a basswood body, it's a maple neck, pretty chunky neck, which you'd need for an 8-string. It's actually got some figure on it, which surprised me. Now, being that it's a cheaper guitar and that Harley Benton is known for decent budget stuff, I think they made a lot of waves a couple years ago with their 212 cabinets that were loaded with actual V30s, and it was crazy because the cabinets were actually cheaper than just buying two V30s on their own. And a lot of people lately, especially some of my contemporaries on YouTube, have been raving about how good the guitars are, especially for the money. Now, this is definitely on their lower end, being that it's under $200 US. So we're going to get into some of the stuff that's maybe not so good, but at the same time, you have to be charitable with how low cost it is. But even with some of that, I was still kind of surprised of some of the quality issues. So one thing I expected was the tuners weren't great. Kind of loose feeling, didn't tune great, definitely didn't hold tuning very well. When I went to remove those, they were screwed on, bolted on so tight that they'd actually started to dig into the wood, as you can see. And on one of them, they actually had missed and drilled an extra hole, which fortunately is covered and you can't see it, but didn't fill me with a ton of confidence, to be honest. Something else I noticed right away when I first played it is the frets felt awful. And upon looking at them, as you can see here, they were just disgusting and grody and just not good. You could just feel that grit every time you try to bend something. And it just made for a not good playing experience. Now, these things are advertised as having high output pickups. Now, I don't know if my pickups were faulty or if it was wired wrong or if this is how they all sound, but these are definitely not high output. I was actually kind of shocked at how weak they were. They did not drive the amp at all. You'll hear in the in-mix, and when I do a comparison with the A and B, they're going into my 5153 Stealth on the red channel, which should have more gain than you would ever need, and it's still just, it sounds choked. It's just struggling. It's not driving the amp at all. I hated these pickups. And so after getting the guitar, I posted, I was like, it's got good bones, which it definitely does. It's got great bones. The fret job, while grungy, was perfectly fine. No sharp frets on it, no high frets. The setup was actually perfect out of the box. The bridge is very well done. The nut is well cut. Other than maybe a gap in the neck pocket, it's a perfectly fine skeleton of a guitar. But I needed to upgrade this thing to make it usable, and I figured I could make a video out of that. So I remember posting on Instagram, I was like, this thing has terrible pickups. It needs new pickups. And Guitarmory reached out to me and offered to send their veteran pickups, which I had, I had no experience with any 8-string pickups really. And I didn't have any experience with the veteran pickups, but I've had some experience with Guitarmory in the past, and they always make great stuff. So I was like, screw it, send it over. They've got to be an improvement. They definitely were. They're definitely hot. They definitely drive the amp, especially way better than this other set of pickups that came in this. There's a lot of pick attack. The notes are really defined, which you especially want on an 8-string. It really helps to define those low notes. They don't just all mud together. It drives the amp, but it's not so hot that it starts to get saturated to the point of getting, again, muddy, which is what you get with some really, really hot pickups, which, I mean, if you're in a higher tuning is fine, you're not going to get the mud, but on a guitar tuned at F or F sharp, it's definitely just going to all jumble together and be too much. So I think these were a great middle ground, like just hot enough to drive the amp, but not so hot that it starts to lose definition. Great pick attack. They feel really good to play. The neck pickup, super good on cleans. Both pickups split, sound fantastic on cleans. Just overall an improvement. And then I decided to wire that up with a Mad Hatter solderless wiring kit. I've talked about this on the channel before. Most of my guitars have these in there. They're fantastic. It makes everything sound exactly as it should. Makes putting in and swapping out pickups a breeze. So definitely wanted that in there. For the tuners, I decided to go with a company I'd never tried before, but had seen some cool things around. Very affordable brand, Tone Ninja. Locking tuners, 18-to-1 ratio. They looked cool. I think it was like $60 for the set that I paid for it, which is massively cheaper than a lot of other brands. And they feel good, they look good, they dropped right in, and they hold tuning super well. These are actually really, really good tuners. I don't think enough people are talking about these or they're using them. I was definitely blown away. Like, they hold their own with like Grover and all the other cool locking tuners I've used over the years. They're fantastic. I went over those frets with a Dremel and a polishing wheel. Got them, how they should have looked coming out of the factory. Got them looking shiny and brand new. Now they feel great to play on. And the last thing I put on was some Stringjoy strings, which I've really come to love over the past year. They're fantastic. So we're going to hear this inside of a mix, and then we're going to hear a little bit of comparison just so you can hear, the pickup comparison to hear how that's different. You can see how it looks much better. And let's just check it out. So definite improvement with the pickups. The whole thing sounds better, feels better, plays better, stays in tune better, and is now actually a functional instrument that I'm going to be happy to use on the channel for future demos, pickup demos, especially drive and boost demos. I think this is going to be fantastic. I'm going to have a video just on these pickups so I can really go in and show what all the sounds and tones for these are. So that'll be coming in the very near future. It had a few weak spots, but for not a ton of money, I was able to turn this thing into just an absolute monster of a guitar that I'm stoked to own now. I'm going to have links down to the guitar and everything else I used in the video down below. Thanks for watching. Stay metal.